Good evening. This is a public meeting, the Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals. Board of Appeals for May 29, 2014. A couple of things before we get started. If you plan on speaking before the board, would you please sign in with your name and address? And secondly, if electronic devices, if you could check them, make sure they're either turned off or turned down, that would be appreciated. Our first order of business is under continuances. This is ZB 2014-18. The applicant is Sisters of Charity of Ottawa, Inc. and Duville Transitional Care, Inc., property located at 1085 Varnum Avenue. The petition, a special permit and variances for approximately 31,454 square foot building, featuring 45 units supportive assisted living units, and 15 units for memory care, with 157 parking spaces on 357,327 square feet of land as a part of the Duville Senior Care Facilities. Pursuant to Section 4.2, 5.1, 5.32, and Article 12 of the zoning ordinance. Is there a representative for the petitioner, please?
John Newman with Newman McDowell.
Hi, John. So, we met a couple of weeks ago, and since that time, I know the planning board has met with the petitioner, and I know there's been success. I actually watched that meeting. Again, shows you how exciting my life is. So I saw the meeting, and I have a couple of things written here from our last meeting about a couple of things to present. Do you have anything new to speak about tonight?
No, I don't. We did make the revisions to the plans that are required by the planning board, and they did issue their special permit and site plan approval and presented it to the town clerk.
Okay, so landscape plan, did you, was something presented for a landscape plan with the planning board?
The condition that was given to us by the planning board just basically said that we would work with the city if additional trees were necessary. That was one of their conditions.
Okay. So we have a, were you going to speak to the landscape plan at all?
No.
Okay. So Joe, was that incorporated? I know I have the kind of the overview what came from planning board. Has that been captured by planning board, the landscape plan that I had it as a potential condition, but I think it was more of a follow-up, excuse me, for this meeting. Could you elaborate, please?
Yes, it was a condition of the planning board's approval that they continue to work with planning and development on an appropriate landscape plan for the site as part of the development.
Okay. And Dennis, did you have a question on anything at this point? No? Okay. Okay, I'll turn it over to you, sir, if you have something else you'd like to add.
Basically, no. We're here for two variances and the extension of a non-conforming use special permit.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to just reopen it up quickly to the public. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone here like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Going to open up to the board. Mike, any questions, comments?
Just one question or a couple quick comments and a question. I mean, it's just a formality to go over them again, but I'll be planning on voting in favor of the special permit to, I guess, really continue with the the existing use, and the also on the dimensional variance. And then the question I had on the other dimensional variance, I just wanted to make sure that the different groups of the sisters are still getting along, and that tunnel and the 0 feet of setback will still won't be an issue. Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Okay. Sir, if you like, or if anybody would like to address that, please.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Dennis.
Through Mr. Chairman, Is there someone here that can talk to the retaining wall that exists on the site at all?
The proposed retaining wall?
Yes.
Let's go to the, well, actually, it shows clearly on the site plan without the contours, so you can see it easier. We have the upper wall, which varies in height. That's the one closer to the property line, about 14 feet away. Then we have the lower wall, which is consistent height of 4 feet. And that's the one that meanders. And then has the terrace that comes up to it in about the middle, upper two-thirds portion.
It seems like a rather tall retaining wall, so my concern is at the upper retaining wall, what kind of edge protection are you incorporating into the design?
On the landscape plan, there is shown a chain link fence across the top of along our property line. And it also serve as a privacy fence for the new assisted living. Actually, David has that.
I'm sorry, this is my first time seeing the packet.
Okay, excuse me,
There
sorry.
seemed to be a,
Yeah,
Getting
Matt
material to
Kittner, Director of Facilities. I dropped off packets. After the last meeting, I dropped off full packets. There is a fence that goes, along the top of the top retaining wall with the privacy slats in it. It'll be a chain link fence, decorative, not just
Perfect.
plain. And that'll protect from anyone being able to walk off the wall.
Perfect.
Accidentally.
yep,
Most of that retaining wall, if all of it actually abuts forest, there's no
understand.
houses there, but there could be the
Yeah,
chance that someone could
absolutely right.
stumble through there, and
And
so
the
we
height-
did have that incorporated.
thank you. What's the height of the fence?
The fence would be a 6-foot-high
It'll
fence.
be 6 foot high, okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Nice plan, great package. I wish I had seen this a little bit earlier than tonight, but it does seem to be very thorough and answers my questions, in particular about the safety of that retaining wall. So, and I'm glad you're going to be working with DPW for additional landscaping
Yes,
concerns?
I actually, once I received the planning board, decision, and even prior to that, we tried to reach out to the department landscape experts. We weren't able to connect with them, but I did connect back with them, put the landscape architect in touch with them and Judy, and they're going to be getting, basically their concern is more about the abutting screening, not the total landscape package, but just the abutters. I've worked personally with the Anson Ave abutter. He's seen our plan personally. We've actually walked the site with him. And I also told him that as the plantings are being installed, if there's more plantings he would like, we would be open to putting those in for him. We want to protect his asset and his views. And we're going to transplant some existing material that needs to be moved to, create, additional screening along the Varnum Ave property as well. So that's going to be, shown, a blown-up plan to the landscape people at the Department of, is it planning, the landscape folks? Planning, yes. So we'll have some sort of back and forth, and that's a condition that the planning board had put in, that we just work with them to make sure they're satisfied with what we're doing for screening.
Wonderful. And it looks like the landscaping that you're doing on the site itself is well done, very nicely presented, and I think it'll be a big asset, so nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Van?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the applicant. I think you might have talked about it in the last meeting, but I just want to ask a quick question. When this project gets started, how long do you foresee it going on for before the final project's done and the whole facilities?
Our
kinda
construction estimated date, completion timeframe is about 12 to 14 months. However, we are looking at winter, it's going to come quick. So that could impact it, depending on the winter we have.
Yeah.
But we will do everything we can to have this project opened up sometime next summer, completion. So we don't anticipate doing any, major landscaping or paving until the spring. We're going to concentrate on the building, trying to get that enclosed retaining wall, which has to go in before we can really put any foundations in. And that's the sequence that we're working on. And then in the springtime, we'll finish up the exterior and put in all the landscaping and paving.
Okay, No, this is an awesome plan and a well put together package, so I appreciate it, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Van. One thing, one thing I just realized that I should have done right at the very beginning of the meeting, we only have 4 members here tonight, and procedurally, you need a vote of 4 yeses to be approved. You also had the opportunity to say, I'll come back to the next meeting, so I just wanted to state that for the record. I should have made that statement. But anyways, so tonight, we're looking at a special permit on section 4.2, variance for section 5.1, and a variance for section 5.3.2. Is that correct? Just want to make sure we cover all 3, because sometimes this gets, Joe, is that correct?
Right, that's correct.
Okay. So before I get into that, I really appreciate the presentation that was done the first time we met. I appreciate the president's overview of what the objective is. I even decided tonight to even bring your pamphlet, because again, I have a very boring life and I read a lot of stuff, so. But this was nicely done, but this tied in nicely with the plans that you presented. So I just wanted to mention that, because a lot of things you talk about here are reflected in your plans, so just wanted to give you kudos for that. So we're here to speak about special permit, and on the special permit, there's a set of criteria that need to be met, and there's actually 6 of them. I'm not going to go through all of them, but obviously, I think the highlights are community need is definitely met in this. The traffic flow and safety, I know we talked about the parking, and I even asked some questions about the fire department's review in the fire lanes. Utilities, I know the gentleman here, my best friend in the world over here that's here from the site, utilities will be taken care of. Neighborhood character, I know there was a comment from the city that talked about how you've reached out to your neighbors to make sure they understood exactly what the change in plans were. Impact on natural environment, and obviously there is a fiscal impact. City services will be handled, but there's also an impact on the tax base. So for the special permit would be for section 4.2, which has to do with existing use of a non-conforming area. I'd like to have a motion made on that one first, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for a special permit per section 4.2 for ZB 2014-018, Sisters of Charity of Ottawa Incorporated and Dorville Transitional Care Incorporated.
And just to extend that just a little bit, this is from the single family to the dependent senior care residences. So could I have a roll call, please?
I'll second the
Needed a
motion.
second on that, Mr.
I'll second the
Chairman.
motion.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Approved.
Mr. Palio?
Approved?
Mr. McCarthy?
Approve.
Mr. Peck?
Approve.
Okay, the special permit has been approved. The first variance will have a motion for section 5.1, the dimensional requirements from 10 feet to 0 feet to allow for the construction of a tunnel. So could I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-018 for the Sisters of Charity in Ottawa, Inc. and Dorville Transitional Care Incorporated, a variance for section 5.1 for the dimensional requirements from 10 feet to 0 feet to allow for the connection of a tunnel to connect the proposed building to the transitional care building number 1071.
Could I have a second?
Second?
Roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Approved.
Mr. Palio?
Approved?
Mr. McCarthy?
Approve.
Mr. Peck?
Approve.
Okay, and the second variance will be for section 5.3.2, lot area per dwelling unit, 10,000 square feet required, and this is a 27940. And in regards to the variances, there are generally 3 criteria that have to be met for the 3 criterias. I believe the applicant has shown that they've met the special hardship, the public good, desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. I think that's been demonstrated. And the third one is the intent of the zoning has been satisfied. And this is being done without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent of the zoning. So could I have a motion on the variance, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-018. The applicant Sister of Charity of Ottawa Incorporated and Doorville Transitional Care Incorporated. A variance for section 5.3.2 lot area per dwelling unit from 10,000 square feet required to a reduction of 7,940 square feet.
A second.
I second the motion.
Roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Approved.
Mr. Palia?
Approved?
Mr. McCarthy?
Approve?
Mr. Peck?
Approve.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I congratulate you and I wish you the best of luck. I'm sure you'll be successful. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, the next order of business is under new business. ZB 2014-21, the applicant is McDonald's. Property located at 803 Rogers Street. The petition, special permit for reduced parking, illuminated sign, and drive-through lanes pursuant to section 6.1, 4.4, 6.2.3, section 9, and 12.4. And variances to increase the size and height of a sign and for reduced width of angled parking lots pursuant to section 6.1.1, 6.2.2, section 8B, and 6.3.2, section 8, section C. I'm also going to read is there anybody here for the McDonald's petition? Okay. I'm also going to read in the next petition. This is also under new business. ZB 2014-22 petition is a special permit and variance. The applicant is Hannaford Brothers Company, LLC, 847 Rogers Street. And the petition is a special permit for illuminated sign pursuant to section 6.2.39 and a variance to increase the area for a trademark and to erect an off-site billboard directional sign pursuant to section 6.3.35 and 6.3.4. I'd like to read into the record, we've been notified, this was from Novus Engineering, dated May 16th, 2014, to the chairman's attention in regards to the applications for approvals. McDonald's Restaurant and Hannaford Store, 803 and 847 Rogers Street. On behalf of McDonald's USA, LLC, and Hannaford Brothers Company, we respectfully request that the public hearings for these applications be continued. For the zoning board, this is from May 29th to June 9th, 2014. And this was signed by the senior project manager, Mr. Richard Ballmar. So with that said, could I have a motion? Joe, any issue with June 9th? Okay.
No, not at this point, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Could I have a motion to continue, please? So Joe, do we have to,
Since they're two separate petitions, there should be two motions.
okay, so can I have a continuance for the,
No, you could just continue the petition generally. Yes.
I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-021 for McDonald's at 803 Roger Street to continue the special permit for reduced parking, illuminated sign, and drive-through lanes, and continue for variance to increase the size and height of the sign and for the reduced width of the angled parking lots
to June 9th?
to June 9th.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second the motion.
Roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Continue to June 9th.
Mr. Palia?
Continue to June 9th.
Mr. McCarthy?
Continue to June 9th.
Mr. Peck?
Continue to June 9th.
Okay, so could I have a motion for the Hannaford petition, please?
Three, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-022 for a special permit and variance for Hannaford Brothers at 847 Roger Street, special permit for illuminated sign, and a variance to increase the area for a trademark and to erect an off-site illuminated directional sign to June 9th.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Continue to June 9th.
Mr. Palia?
Continue to June 9th.
Mr. McCarthy?
Continue to June 9th.
Mr. Peck?
Continue to June 9th.
Okay, our next matter before us is ZB 2014-23. The petition's a special permit. The applicant is Ken Cole Investment Trust. Property is located at 279 Pawtucket Street. The petition, special permit. The petitioner seeks a special permit to operate a contractor's garage as part of a 4-story mixed-use building to accommodate 6 residential units and 2 commercial retail spaces with related parking pursuant to Article 12 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening, Mr. Flood.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, James Flood, 549 Roger Street, representing Ken Cole Investment Trust. With me tonight is Ken Kaiser, who is the trustee, and Brian Gaudreau from Hancock Associates, who is the project engineer. As the notice stated, we're in front of you tonight for a special permit to operate a contractor's garage under Article 12, Section 9R, to allow Mr. Kaiser to operate his business at 279 Pawtucket Street. Mr. Kaiser has a purchase and sale agreement with Harkins Real Estate to purchase the property, which is subject to the obtainment of the required permits from the Planning Board, Board of Appeals, and Conservation. As the narrative attached to my application states, it's his intent to build a 4-story mixed-use building on the site with 2 adjacent parking areas. The first floor, which would be the basement, would consist of a 3-bay garage, a laundry facility for the tenants, and mechanical rooms. The second floor would have 2 units to be used either as an office space or retail space, but Mr. Kaiser intends to operate his business out of one of the spaces, which on the first floor. So, third and fourth floor each contain 3-bedroom units. We appeared before the planning board last week, and it did approve our request for a special, for site plan approval, and also an Article 12 special permit. They did attach 10 conditions, and we had a lengthy hearing regarding various, various matters that they were concerned with, and I think Joe has delivered to you a copy. I don't have a copy, but there were 10 conditions, I think. We also appeared before the Conservation Commission last evening, and they've issued a standard order of conditions, and it's our hope that this board will grant the special permit we need to complete the project. Mr. Kaiser is in the property management business. He owns numerous properties within the greater Lowell area and also manages many buildings for other landlords in the area. He employs 6 maintenance workers and has 3 office employees. The maintenance workers meet at the property at 8:15 in the morning, and they're off the property at 8:30, and they don't come back till 4:15. He works Monday to Friday, no weekend working. The garage would be used for the overnight storage parking of 2 pickup trucks, 1 van. He has seasonal equipment, which would be snow plows for the pickup trucks, snow blowers, lawn mowers, leaf blowers, various equipment that would be used in maintenance. He would have paint, brushes, plumbing supplies, and various cleaning supplies. So it's really to be used in conjunction with his property management business, not for any outside use. He has spoken personally with the abutters, and he indicates to me that he felt that no one had any problems with it. I think the planning board covered a lot of the issues regarding traffic, and they've placed conditions on it. And I think it's a nice project. It fits well in the neighborhood, and we'd ask for your approval. I have the engineer here if you want to go over the engineering, if you feel it's necessary, or we can just answer questions that the board might have. It's up to you.
Good. Well, as I stated earlier about the other petition, I did happen to watch this property or this petitioner go before the planning board, so I know for myself I'm pretty much up to speed on this. So you mentioned, Mr. Flood, what the purpose of the garage was, so it sounds like just to support
Ken's
the
business.
business that's operating out of there.
I think
Is there anything that distinguishes that the garage would be used for business purposes only? I mean, there's not going to be any signage on there or anything
No,
that
no, just-
dictates what's in there?
Yeah, I think the planning department felt, I thought it was accessory to the principal, but planning department thought it'd be better to come in here for a special permit.
Yep, yep. Well, like I say, I watched the meeting. I'm pretty familiar with what the intent is there, so I don't really have anything right now. Do you have anything else you want to add at this
No,
point?
I think the planning board felt very confident and comfortable that Mr. Kaiser's gonna be there. He's gonna watch the property.
Sure.
He's gonna take care of everything that goes on there,
Yep.
so.
Okay. All right, if you have nothing else to add at this point, I'll open it up to the public. Anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? Yes, sir. Good evening.
My name is James McMorrow, 21 Leonard Circle, Lowell, Mass.
Okay.
I'm an independent contractor employed by the Sisters of Charity next door at 267 Pawtucket Street, I'm sorry. We have met with Ken.
Yep.
And I spoke at the planning board in favor of this project. Again, I just want to reiterate, the way it's zoned, it's going to be a complement to the neighborhood, the design of the building. I just want to point out one thing, too. I know it says it's a 4-story building, but due to the grade of the land, that garage, and that's important, too. We just talked about some signage on it. Is actually going to be on the back side of the building. So on the street level, there's only 3 levels that will be,
True.
facing the street, and the public will, see that. And I think that is actually a good thing, too, because I think if the garage was on the front there, it would be a bit of an eyesore. But again, I've spoken to Sister Pauline LeBlanc. All of our concerns have been addressed, and I want to just say we are in favor of it.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak in favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? Opposition, opposition. Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. I'd like to open up to the board. Mike, any questions?
I don't have any questions, just a few comments. I guess, like Chairman Bailey, I was the other person at home watching the planning board meeting that night. We were in separate homes, watching separate televisions, but, so, I mean, there's a lot of material that we received prior to the planning board meeting, and then after watching the board meeting and hearing one of the abutters speaking in favor, I just want to compliment you both on design of your building, because I think it will fit in with that neighborhood, with what is becoming a very quickly changing area with the University Crossing and the improvements to the intersections and other things. And I also wanted to just comment on the fact, and this is no reflection on you or your application, but the building that was there prior, under prior ownership, I believe, caught fire and burned to the ground because it was unsecured. So it is unfortunate that at least 2 owners sort of walked away from the property, but I'm glad that someone is now stepping in to buy it and redevelop it and obviously improve that lot and improve on what was there before. So, but I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Dennis?
Through Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to echo I didn't get to watch the meeting from the planning board, so I missed that dramatic event. I'll try to tune in coming weeks. But great design here, and great asset, I think, to the neighborhood once it's built. We're looking forward to seeing this construction because it is missing. And the old farmhouse did add something, it's gone, but this, I think, will be a big improvement. I was hoping to see more information on the site because it is such a tight site. When I first saw the building, I was like, how is this going to fit? Because it's the scale is dramatic in comparison to what was there. The site plan that we have is not including a lot of description regarding grading. It's just a layout materials plan, but I see you have one here.
Yeah, Brian, you can answer that, yeah.
Brian Gaudreau with Hancock Associates. Sheet 4 is our detailed grading plan. Do you have a copy of the full plan set? So we submitted a full plan set,
I have
6
sheet
sheets.
3.
Should have been 4.
Yeah, there should have been 6.
A2, sheet 3,
Those
and
are
the
just the
elevation sheet.
architecturals. We actually have a permit site plan that should have been submitted as well.
Joe, is there something that we didn't
I
get?
thought it was all submitted.
Yeah.
Only because it's really important to the site to understand the grading, because especially with retaining walls and such that are going down this steep slope, I imagine the front to back of this lot is probably 12, 15 feet anyway. So,
Want to see the full set?
please.
I mean, so
help.
working through the street from Pawtucket down Falls, essentially we're bringing Falls Street up to type A code. So we're gonna widen the street, and then we're gonna adjust grading so that there's a nice leveling area at the top, and then proceeds down to 12% towards the second of the 2-tiered parking lot. Sheet 4 has the grading on it.
So I'd like to start with the grading against the Falls Street. You're showing in your elevation a rather dramatic kind of break in the grade there where you've got
On the
exposed
side of the
foundation.
building.
But I'm not seeing, is there a retaining wall that runs along that side?
Yep, so if you take a look at, there's a thick dashed line right there. Right now, there's actually an existing granite retaining wall about 4 feet in height. That's gonna be maintained. The grade of Falls Street itself is gonna have a 3% slope from the Pawtucket Street right-of-way, 25 feet, and then it's gonna shift into a 12% slope down to meet an existing grade. The reason why the slope is so dramatic, it's 10% right now, and there's land behind our property owned by the state of Massachusetts to have access and maintain the northern canal. So we're tabling at the intersection, coming down, and then tabling to where the unimproved part of Fall Street is. So there's going to be a small retaining wall against the building, but it's not going to be bigger than where it is right now.
Okay, and then you have another retaining wall between the two parking areas.
Correct. That's another 4-foot retaining wall to differentiate grade between the two levels so we can maintain a less than 5% slope across each one of those parking areas.
Are we putting any fall protection on top of these retaining walls?
There is a guardrail in between the two parking areas.
42 inches high, or what are the characteristics of the fall protection?
It's a standard guardrail detail is on sheet 6.
Okay.
So we're proposing
Okay.
not 48 inches. Typically, guardrails are, what, about 3 feet high?
Oh. How about the other retaining wall? Is there fall protection there as well?
So the other retaining wall next to the building, we did not propose any fall protection on that. And again, that's going to be a less than 4-foot retaining wall. The only significant retaining wall on the site is to the left side of the building, behind by the dumpster. And there's an existing retaining wall there, an existing chain link fence that is at the top of that wall.
So we're maintaining the existing chain link fence? Is that the idea?
If that wall is coming down, it resides right on the property line, and Ken is working currently with the Lauren Funeral Home, the owners of it, to come up with a plan for the grading in those specific areas. Regardless of that plan, a retaining wall is going to be installed, and fall protection will be put on top of it, as required by DPD staff. All of our retaining walls are going to be submitted as required by the city of Lowell.
But you intend to reuse the existing retaining walls where you can?
If a structural engineer is going to have to look at that and gauge whether we can or cannot use that. Right now, we're proposing a new retaining wall.
You are, that makes sense. Okay. Okay, great. It's nice to see the set of plans. Thank you. No further questions.
I thought that was included in the set lot. You want that for the file?
I think it should be part of the file.
Dennis, if it makes you happy, that's all, it's good
I
with
mean,
me.
he has them all
I
from the
think-
planning board too, so it's fine.
I think it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Van?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the applicant. I think this is a good project. I just had a couple general questions about the business. So essentially, you're just going to store machinery and park cars at the site, and will you be accessing the site during regular business hours, or?
His men come early in the morning at 8:15, they're gone at 8:30, they're gone all day, they come back in the afternoon, so they're not in and out all day. He'll be there in his office, but the maintenance men are not there.
Okay.
They're out on jobs all day.
That's the only question I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I know the petitioner, Mr. Kaiser's been here before us. I know he's been before planning board. I think the proof is in the pudding with the projects he's done in the past. And as I stated, I watched the planning board. I know it was pretty
Yeah, I looked in.
pretty detailed how they looked at the plan. Obviously, I think it's going to, I'm sure the neighborhood, it's nice to see somebody that lives right next door or has a facility next door that's in full support. I think obviously we got a vacant lot there that would be nice to put a brand-new facility in there. And there seemed to be a lot of tie-in with Lowell and that whole avenue there. And I'm sure Mr. O'Donnell's happy to
Yes.
see a building across the street. So we're here for a special permit for the garage, and again, as I stated earlier, if I look at the criteria for special permit, the 6 criteria, I believe the petitioner meets them, and just to highlight a few of them, there's obviously, I see both the social and an economic need will be met here. The parking and the loading kind of ties in with why we're here tonight anyways, but I understand what the potential use of the garage is. Neighborhood character, I know that was addressed and spoken to in some of the information that we received this evening. That should tie perfectly in with the neighborhood. Again, having an abutter here, I think, supports that. Natural environment, I know there's discussion about the end of the road there with, so who, is that state, is it state-owned? That's at
Commonwealth of Mass, yeah.
Yeah.
What is the,
Yeah.
what? Locks and
Locks
Canals.
and Canals, and I know I heard you might not see somebody for 10 years down there. So I think that's, obviously, this is going to support the natural environment. And then, for the city, there's obviously tax base and employment, meets those needs. Joe, was there we didn't receive anything from any city departments. I'm assuming there was nothing new on that end, correct?
No, nothing new since the planning board meeting from any other departments.
Okay, so I'll, and as I stated earlier, need a 4-0 vote here. I'm sure you know that, too.
Yep.
Okay, any other comments, questions from any other board members before? Okay, hearing none, could I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-023 for a special permit for the applicant, Ken Cole Investment Trust at 279 Pawtucket Street. The special permit is for the contractor's garage as part of a 4-story mixed-use building to accommodate 6 residential units and 2 commercial retail spaces with related parking, with the following conditions. First one is to adopt the 11 conditions from the planning board decision. And the second one is to include, as part of the approval for special permit, the site plan presented by Hancock Associates dated 4/16/2014.
We have a second.
I'd second the motion.
Roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Approved with conditions.
Mr. Palia?
Approved with conditions?
Mr. McCarthy?
Approved with conditions.
Mr. Peck?
Approve with conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's going to be a nice project.
Okay, our next matter before us is under other business, and this is a administrative review by the board. Shall be conducted in order to review conditions of approval for the following project, ZB 2014-11. Petitions of variance for dimensional requirements. The applicant is a Lowell Regional Water Utility. Property located at 178 and 180 Stackpole Street. And the petitioner seeks variances to replace the pumping station and associated equipment without meeting dimensional requirements for front yard and side yard setbacks and curb cut width pursuant to section 5.1 and 6.1.1 of the zoning ordinance. Is there a representative here? Why, yes, sir?
Doing well yourselves. Nathan Little from Woodard and Kern. We had presented this application for variance back on March 24th.
Yep.
The hearing on March 24th, it was granted with conditions at that hearing. And the conditions were that the applicant shall work with the development services on 3 conditions. 1, to reduce the area of the parking lot and reuse the existing site access. 2, to develop a landscaping plan to screen the generator in the building. And 3, to relocate the generator away from the adjacent intersection and consider using a mobile generator if possible. These were all, I believe, in concern to the aesthetics of the property from the intersection of Stackpole Street and Nesmith Street. So myself, Swathi, and Joe met on April 8th to discuss the conditions. And we outlined the discussion in that meeting in a letter dated May 16th to the zoning board. The conclusions that came out of that discussion were that further reducing the parking lot area and reusing the existing gate weren't feasible due to the necessity for vehicular access for operation and maintenance requirements and emergency scenarios at the pump station site, as well as existing site constraints. Visual screening of the generator using a combination of fence slatting and landscaping would increase project costs slightly, but was considered a viable option for increasing the aesthetic quality of the site from Nesmith Street. The final condition, relocating the existing generator, second time during construction, was not deemed cost effective. Also, using a mobile generator wasn't feasible due to the fact that the water utility didn't have a vehicle capable of transporting a unit of the size necessary. However, the proposed generator location was shifted approximately 4 feet east of the original proposed location to provide some additional distance between Nesmith Street and the unit. So based on those conclusions, we recommended that visual screening of the generator and the building utilizing landscaping and fence slats be pursued in an attempt to increase the aesthetic quality from the site. And that was kind of outlined in the attached sheet, C302R. The proposed landscaping was along the western exterior edge of the site and included a 4-foot section of mulched area with 6 feet, 6-foot arborvitae, spaced at 6 feet apart on center along that western edge of the site, as well as fence slatting, either traditional fence slatting or hedge link fence slatting along the west and south of the fence up to the westernmost gate post. So that was what came out of that meeting and was the proposed conclusion, our proposed recommendation.
Yeah, and are you Nathan Little?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Because I know there were the two names. Was the other gentleman here?
No, I was here last time with a fellow associate. but
Okay.
It wasn't.
There was two, yeah.
Yeah, there
okay.
were 2 of us here last time.
Okay, yeah, again, I'll speak for myself. I read through, what had transpired and basically had a good understanding of what was reviewed, what was discussed. Joe, was there anything you wanted to add what Mr. Little has already talked about if you were part of the discussions?
Yeah, there's nothing else that DPD would have to add at this point, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. So from your department side, based on the discussions you had with Mr. Little and his company, you're satisfied with the decision of, what you could do, what you couldn't do for various reasons?
Yes,
Yep.
that's correct, yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to add, sir?
No, not at this time.
Okay. So, Joe, we're not voting on anything here, are we? If it's just administrative review, it's kind of like a report back to the board based on
Yeah, you could
discussions, right?
You could take a vote to just accept the report if you would like, so that way it's just a record of satisfying the
Sure.
conditions of approval.
Sure. Okay. Anybody, I'll just open up to anybody. Does anybody have any questions at all for Mr. Little or?
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to comment on the fact that the Woodward and Curran did go back and work with DPD.
Yep.
My only concern back in March was, I guess, similar to Mr. McCarthy's in that it would be nice if there was a way to screen that lot from the street, whether it was with more landscaping, and that's what has been proposed. It is a slight, I'm sure, compared to the overall cost of the project, a few more plantings and some slats in the fence, I think I don't have a problem with an issue with that, as opposed to the second point about where there might be a $40,000 to $50,000 increase in cost with the generator relocation. So I guess I just wanted, again, to comment. I'm happy with the changes that were, the potential changes that were considered and made.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Dennis, anything?
Through Mr. Chairman, I am glad that the report followed up on the conditions. I think the information that we're receiving, particularly the graphics regarding the landscape plan, is lacking in definition, because I can't see it. You know, it really doesn't do anything. So I think it'd be nice in the future for us to receive a graphic that actually represents the changes in a manner that we can understand. I mean, I can't see how the arborvitaes and the fence and the mulch bed are arranged on that site, really. I'm really relying on the narrative, just as a criticism, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Dan, anything you want to add?
I just want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues, you know. I want to thank Mr. Little and working with the planning staff and, you know, coming to a compromise, so we appreciate it. So thank you, Mr. Little.
Thank you, Van. So with that said, I'm sure you heard the comments from the board, but I think we're all set it. But I think the most important thing is that, you know, you sat down with the city, at least reviewed the options that each of the parties had and laid it out. And I think Dennis's message is probably more for the next time if it comes down. Doesn't mean this is directed towards you, sir, or what happened here, but may be helpful to the board in the future. So
Yeah, understood.
I'm sure that'll be accepted by all parties. Okay, could I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for ZB 2014-11 for variance for dimensional requirements for the Lowell Regional Water Utility to adopt the report by Woodard and Curran addressed to the Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals in response to the decision on case number ZB 2014-11 to adopt the report dated May 16, 2014.
Second?
Roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Approved.
Mr. Palia?
Approved.
Mr. McCarthy?
Approve.
Mr. Peck?
Approve.
Okay, Mr. Little, thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Good evening.
You too.
Okay, our next matter before us is minutes. These are the minutes of April 14th, 2014. Do we have any comments, questions, corrections? Hearing none, could I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes for the Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals, meeting April 14, 2014.
Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
Roll call. Approved.
Mr. Palia?
Approved.
Mr. McCarthy?
Approve.
Mr. Peck?
Approve.
Okay, so our next scheduled meeting will be for Monday, June 9th. Is that correct, Joe?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, anything else from any other members? Hearing none, like a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Have a second?
Second the motion.
So moved.